Canto 3, 9, verse number 25. We'll just read it. I don't want to wear that, it sounds freezing cold. So Sava Baja Karuna Bhagavan Vrida Prema Smilena Maya Ram Jaya Vishwa Vijaya Chana Sadam Madhya Vibhavamanita Dusha Purana. Lord, who is the supreme, who is the oldest of all, is unlimitedly merciful. I wish that you may. Smilingly bestows benediction upon me by opening his lotus eyes. He can uplift the entire cosmic creation and remove our dejection by kindly speaking his directions. Lord is ever increasingly merciful upon the fallen souls of this material world. The whole cosmic manifestation is a chance for all to improve themselves in devotional service to the Lord, and everyone is meant for that purpose. The Lord expands himself into many personalities who are either self-expansions or separated expansions. The personalities of the individual souls are the separated expansions, whereas the self-expansions of the Lord himself. The self-expansions are predominators, and the separated expansions are predominated for reciprocation of transcendental bliss with the supreme form of bliss and knowledge. Liberated souls can join in this blissful reciprocation of predominator and predominated without materially concocted ideas. The typical example of such a transcendental exchange between the predominator and the predominated is the Lord's Rasa Lila with the gopis. The gopis are predominated expansions of the internal potency, and therefore the Lord's participation in the Rasa Lila dance is never to be considered like the mundane relationship of man and woman. It is rather the highest perfectional stage of the exchange of feelings between the Lord and the entities. The Lord gives the fallen souls the chance to this highest perfection of life. Lord Brahma is entrusted with the management of the complete cosmic show, and therefore he prays that the Lord bestows blessings upon him so that he may execute his purpose. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Bhagavatam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagaratam Sagara Pradatam Vitam Dam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadam Vijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Sada Sada Sagara Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam Scha He Krishna Sindhu Bandha Te Vishaka Vitam Today, Jayatam Sri Tilapam Mama Manda Maternity Matsar Vasva Dambam Jo Radha Ranya Kopati Madash Nagaras Stosh Radash Kristal BC Monks Asa Salam B Monks Kastan Kurs Venus Here Nathas now Dr. Ganshan or Body Vishwams supreme and is the oldest of all, is unlimitedly merciful, and wish that he may smilingly bestow his benediction upon me by opening his lotus eyes. He can uplift the entire cosmic creation and remove our dejection by kindly speaking his directions. So this is the last of Lord Brahma's chapters entitled Prayers for Creative Energy. See the next verse. Maitreya says that prayed to the Lord's mercy as far as his mind and words could permit him. So this is one shouldn't be a discouragement as it would be in the material world, that the limit of your mind and intelligence is the limit of the success that you're going to get. To be very shrewd and sharp and intelligent to make money into politics and diplomacy, then you get very much ahead. And those who are not so adept, they are going to be not be able to advance or to be pushed down from their position, toppled either politically or economically, constant strife. But in the realm of reciprocation with Krishna, Bhava Rahi Janardana, the only thing that is required is the sincerity of purpose, and that will make one more advanced, more and more advanced. There's the description of cultivate our Sridhar, Krishna's eternal power and warfrance here in Chaitanya Lila, as very, very, very poor, selling banana leaves to make a living. Have a roof that prevent the rain from coming in. And for his main container to carry water is made out of the most inferior kind of metal. Iron, the Lord Chaitanya would come and visit him, chill with him, and drink from his water pot regularly. So just to see the greatness of Golavechar Sridhar, the most powerful demigods, who are the most rich and opulent, Lord Shiva and Lord Rama, shed tears upon seeing his greatness. The greatness is based upon reciprocation, as it's mentioned. Says the purport that the devotees are satisfied with whatever little knowledge they have of the Lord to simply engage in devotional service. And indeed, it is not possible to know the extent of the Lord's glories and greatness and energies. As was concluding in another chapter here in the third canto, we must offer our obeisances and surrender and respects to the Lord as a matter of sanity. Then the remainder of the chapter, this is a very wonderful opportunity, which appears in other chapters in the Bhagavatam, most notably the answers by citing the Lord's version, where Rama similar description of a similar event here. The Shukadeva Goswami is explaining Lord Brahma as the first living entity in this universe and performing tapasya to seek out the source of his existence and what are his duties, and ultimately realization of the Lord. As Shukadeva Goswami is describing that in the second canto, and here the very same thing is described by Maitreya to Vidura. This is very nice
It's not like in the material world, oh, I already heard that, or I already heard this person speak on the news on this, or you know, they're making a remake of this movie or something. It's not as good. It's boring, you know. But descriptions of the Lord, um, especially in disciplic succession, become all the more relishable and interesting. Um, when a parrot beak uh, pierces a mango, then the mango uh, ripens and becomes all the more sweeter. So that's a description of the Srimad Bhagavatam being spoken in disciplic succession. So very, very nice. Uh, Here's a little sample. The prayers you have, this is the Lord speaking. Uh, and actually, when the Preaching is the Essence book was being compiled in 1977, and again, for everyone's information, that was the very last BBT publication presented to Srila Prabhupada before his departure from this material world back to the eternal Goloka Vrindavan. There are many uh, wonderful purports, selections from Srila Prabhupada from this chapter. O Brahma, O depth of Vedic wisdom, be neither depressed nor anxious about the execution of creation. What you are begging from me has already been granted before. Any person authorized by either the Lord or his bona fide representative is already blessed, as is the work entrusted to him. In other words, the potency to carry out the instruction to complete success is built within the instruction itself. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he received a very simple instruction in terms of words and understanding. Everyone can understand. Preach this movement in English, or maybe a little more elaborately said, turn yourself into a very good English preacher. This will do good to you and to those who will help you. And from that simple instruction, Prabhupada dedicated his whole life and soul and all his energy and resources. And ultimately, this Krishna consciousness movement has come about and is still growing. We see at the end of the Hare Krishna, the mantra, the movement, and the Swami who started it all movie, they say how many books and temples and in different language publications at the time of Prabhupada's passing. And now I'm looking again when the movie came out in 2017. I think the number was like at least 5 or 6 times greater in general in all categories than at the time of Prabhupada's presence. And what to speak of now, you can even make another calculation some 5 or 6 years afterwards. Prabhupada, in describing how the atheist cannot see or appreciate the Lord, whereas the devotee, he just sees the phenomenon, material nature, and appreciates the amazing activities of the Lord. An example is given of the seed of the banyan tree. Has many, many seeds are growing on the banyan tree, and each one of those seeds has the potency to create another banyan tree. So, whereas the atheist, he doesn't recognize the Lord, the devotee, in every step, he appreciates the activities of the Lord and makes spiritual advancement. So we were standing in the line to board the plane yesterday. And, when they do that, we're taking section number one, mothers with small children or handicapped people go first, and then section two. So there was one like elderly Oriental lady. She might have been Japanese or Chinese. I couldn't tell because she was wearing a mask. And she said, what group are you in? Oh, we're boarding the flight by groups. And I said, oh, well, we're in group number 4 because, we would like where we're seated. And no, I mean, what are you? Are you? And I said, oh, I said, we're Hare Krishna. And quite luckily, I had a Hare Krishna pamphlet in my on my belonging. I was able to give it to her, and she was very appreciative. So that's a little example of why we should always carry some type of Krishna consciousness to give to people. Pamphlet, a card, a book, if you can carry it. And I told her that, and she said, is there more than one God? I said, how is there more than one God? We're in Los Angeles and we're going to New York. It's the same water. It's the same sky. It's the same air. Everywhere it's the same. One governing principle for the entire universe. Of course, the person entrusted with such a responsibility should always be aware of his incapability and must always look for the mercy of the Lord for the successful execution of his duty. Anyone who takes pride in doing responsible work but does not give credit to the Lord is certainly falsely proud and cannot execute anything nicely. If one remembers Lord Chaitanya, the most difficult things become very easy. But if one forgets him, not remembering him, the most easy things become very, very difficult. Atheist decries and defies and does not see the mercy of the Lord anytime, anywhere, but the devotee sees the Lord everywhere and at all times. Situate yourself in penance and meditation. Follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor. By these actions, you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. The Lord bestows a particular person engaged in executing the responsible work entrusted unto him that mercy is beyond imagination, but his mercy is received due to our penance and perseverance in executing devotional service. The Lord instructed him from within, and there was no necessity for anxiety in the task. So we see that Srila Prabhupada, that instruction, and how much, we could say, stress, anxiety that Prabhupada tolerated and went through to bring this Krishna consciousness movement to us and fulfill that instruction. And from that simple instruction, Prabhupada deeply meditated on so many details. And Prabhupada would say, when the devotees would ask in the early days, if I told you all of my plans, you would faint, or if I told you everything at once. And as Krishna gave him more facility, Prabhupada revealed more and more. Brahmananda, I was shocked that it was going beyond the Lower East Side. I thought that was it. It was here and it would stay here eternally. And then after there was some temples, then Prabhupada went back to India and ignited India with Krishna consciousness. And then Prabhupada revealed his plans for building Mayapur, Vrindavan, Bombay. And Prabhupada instructed his senior devotees, especially those from India, like Gopal Krishna Maharaj, how he wanted major temples just like that in all the large cities of India. And what to speak of the large cities of India, in New Delhi itself, there are how many temples are there now and are planned to be there? 15. You hear how Yamuna Devi, she's saying, in her remembrance of the Delhi Pandal, which was in late 1971, that Prabhupada sowed the seeds at this Delhi Pandal for what later became the Temple of the Glory of India Temple, which was, of course, the first temple in, where is it? Santnagar, east of Kailash or whatever. It's, we're, you know, we're not, we're closer to New York than East New York, which is a place you really wouldn't want to go to very much. But anyway, so more and more is revealed. And even Prabhupada, his preaching in India was a further in connection to the order of his spiritual master, but even going further. My spiritual master ordered me to preach in the West, and I have done that. And now what I want to do is to preach in India. Which is certainly not what his spirit is, certainly not against what his spiritual master wanted, but in cognizance, or in what is it when two people come together and make a joint decision in what's it, consultation. And we also saw in the Hare Krishna movie, they added a nice excerpt in the footage of Prabhupada completing his Bhagavatam. So there's the picture of him with the three reddish brown Indian printing books. He's by his Chippiwada residence in Old Delhi. So when I completed the third volume, completed the whole first canto, Guru Maharaj gave indication, now it is time to start to America. Could have thought, well, I have to write the whole Srimad Bhagavatam and then I'll go to America, because then I'll have the whole substantial thing. But no, so the spiritual master and the sincere disciple are always in cognizance and in consultation. Beyond birth and death has nothing to do with the spiritual master's departure or what has happened in time. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. When you are absorbed in devotional service in the course of your creative activities, you will see me and you and throughout the universe, and you will see that you yourself, the universe, and the living entities are all in me. Since you have desired to increase the population innumerably and expand your varieties of service, you shall never be deprived in this matter, because my causeless mercy upon you will always increase for all time. So here's an excerpt that went into the preaching is the essence. A pure devotee of the Lord, being cognizant of the facts of the particular time, object, and circumstances, always desires to expand the number of devotees of the Lord in various ways. Such expansions of transcendental service may appear to be material to the materialist, but factually they are expansions of the causeless mercy of the Lord towards the devotee. Plans for such activities may appear to be material activities, but they are different in potency, being engaged in the satisfaction of the transcendental senses of the Lord. Just like here, we've spent our time tying up all of these bhakti stacks, that it would be very much considered here what's being described as a good example. My dear Durvasa Muni, by acting against Maharaj Ambarish, you've acted in self-envy. You know, when one tries to harm a devotee, then the person doing the harm is the one who's going to really get harmed. So if you want your own welfare, you should go and surrender and beg for his forgiveness at his lotus feet. Then there may be, and if he forgives you, then there may be peace for you. Otherwise, no way. So Prabhupada writes in the purport in that section in the 4th chapter, the Maharaj Ambarish's devotional service of the 9th canto, that's going to remain there until the class is over, and then it's going to be pushed out. Very nice. That the Lord is completely independent in fulfilling his own happiness. He doesn't need anyone. Yet, at the same time, he requires his devotees to complete his transcendental pleasure. And the devotees in the primary rasas, Jai Madhav, Radha Madhava, Punjabi, Srimati Radharani, the gopis, the cowherd boys, Mother Yashoda, they certainly give Krishna happiness. Similarly, this Krishna consciousness movement is an attempt to expand the happiness of the Lord more and more. We're not creating devotees, we're kind of uncovering devotees. Chaito Darpana Marjanam, removing the dust from the mirror of the mind and heart, and underneath is the valuable jewels. The 6 Goswamis were always in the transcendental land of Vrindavan, which is full of fruits and flowers, which had under their roots all valuable jewels. So the devotees are jewels. There's sparkling jewels in the Lord's jewelry chest. So anyone who assists in this attempt to expand the pleasure potency of the Lord at once becomes the most confidential servitor of the Lord. What is that? Nachatasman manusheshu kaschan me priyakritama. And one who distributes this knowledge of pure, unalloyed devotional service to the people is the most confidential servant of the Lord, most dear, priya kritama, and there will never be one more dear. So these are not material activities, and what to speak of even spiritual activities. They're the highest type of spiritual activity, engaged directly in satisfying the senses of Brajendra Nandana Sham Sundar. You are the original Rishi, and because your mind is always fixed on me, even though you will be engaged in generating various progeny, the vicious mode of passion will never encroach upon you. So I was hearing yesterday's verse, devotional service is like razor's edge. One must be very attentive, handling a razor. A little inattention can immediately create bloodshed and havoc. But one who's always praying to the Lord for his protection is guaranteed never to fall down. In the case of devotees being bewildered, such as Arjuna, all such bewilderment is specifically meant for their further advancement in devotional service of the Lord, or as it's described, that the mother-in-law instructs the newly married daughter by instructing her own daughter. So the Lord teaches the devotee, who seemingly is put into illusion, but is actually not, so that the people in general can benefit by seeing the Lord's instruction to the devotee. That is the glory of Bhagavad Gita. O Brahma, the prayers that you have chanted praising the glories of my transcendental activities, the penances you have undertaken to understand me, and your firm faith in me, all these are to be considered my causeless mercy. By the mercy of the Lord, even a layman can compose prayers of the highest spiritual perfection. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, what are the three? Crippled man can cross over mountains. The dumb and foolish can speak eloquent poetry, and the blind man can see the stars in the sky. Voluntary endeavor is the only qualification for spiritual perfection. Material acquisitions of wealth or education are not considered. PhD degrees also not considered. I am very much pleased by your description of me in terms of my transcendental qualities, which appear mundane to the mundaners. I grant you all benedictions in your desire to glorify all the planets by your activities. Here's another one from Preaching is the Essence. Pure devotee of the Lord, like Lord Brahma and those in his line of disciplic succession, always desire that the Lord be known all over the universe by each and every one of the living entities. Prabhupada, in one class, very emphatically says, what is the symptom of a devotee? That he wants his Lord's name and fame preached in every nook and corner. That desire of the Lord is always blessed by the Lord. So we pray Vaisheshika Prabhu, if you hadn't heard already in one of his talks, was at the Laguna Beach. He said that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer for all psychological problems that anyone can have in this world in any time, place, or circumstance. That is a fact. So if we desire, make your desire one with the desire of the spiritual master, and that puts you in the topmost Uttam Gati position. Not house, car, color TV, Swami Jai Jagadish Hari. Maybe you can trade in your whatever points from penance and austerity. Actually, Krishna is always looking here. You want something material? Here, take. And then I'm done. I've completed my obligation. Hare Hum, my dear gopis, it is not within my power to repay you. You simply have to be satisfied by your own glorious activities. Why? Because the Lord, in exchange for pure devotional service, he's obligated to give himself. So, you want this nonsense thing? Good, take it. Then I don't have to give me to you. You can take your nonsense thing and be satisfied with your own foolishness. So here's the clue. The desire of the devotee, that desire of the devotee is always blessed by the Lord. The impersonalist sometimes prays for the mercy of the Lord as the embodiment of material goodness, but such prayers do not satisfy the Lord. The Lord is not Karmi Vatsala, he's not Jnani Vatsala, and he's not Yogi Vatsala, he is Bhakta Vatsala. Bhaja Bhakata Vatsala Shri Gaur Hari. It is not thereby, he is not thereby glorified in terms of his actual transcendental qualities. The pure devotees of the Lord are also always most dear to him, although he is always kind and merciful to all living entities. Any human being who prays like Brahma and who thus worships me shall very soon be blessed with the fulfillment of all his desires. Ye prashade pure sarva, for I am the Lord of all benedictions. The prayers offered by Brahma cannot be chanted by anyone who desires to fulfill his own sense gratification. Such prayers can be selected only by a person who wants to satisfy the Lord in his service. The Lord certainly fulfills all desires in regard to transcendental loving service, but he cannot fulfill the whims of non-devotees, even when such casual devotees offer him the best of prayers. What is it? The Lord is not inclined to eat, in big sacrificial arenas and big offerings from Karma Kandiya ritualistic Brahmins, but he's very happy to eat in the place of Kolavechar Shridhar, or to visit the Pandavas in exile and take one little morsel of rice from Draupadi's Akshaya Patra. So many examples like that. It is the opinion of expert transcendentalists that the ultimate goal of performing all traditional good works, penances, sacrifices, charities, mystic activities, transits, etc., is to invoke my satisfaction. I am the super soul of every individual. I am the supreme director and the dearest. People are wrongly attached to gross and subtle bodies, but they should be attached to me only. By following my instructions, you can now generate the living entities as before by dint of your complete Vedic knowledge and the body you have directly received from me, the Supreme Controller. Liberated souls can join in this blissful reciprocation of predominator and predominated without materially concocted ideas. So Prabhupada is giving us insight into the topmost form. Prabhupada says, typical example. Typical also means the supreme example of such transcendental exchange. So understanding the Lord's reciprocation with the gopis, his parakiya ras, parakiya bhave prachar, all glories to the parakiya ras predominant in Brajadam, which is the supreme transcendental mellow, is not to be understood by those who are attached to the material conception of life. Therefore, it is carefully guarded and protected knowledge, but as one becomes qualified, this knowledge of reciprocator, of the predominator and the predominated is revealed more and more. It's the highest perfectional stage of the exchange of feelings between the Lord and the living entities. And Prabhupada remarks that this is the ultimate reason for the creation, of whom Lord Brahma is entrusted with the management of the complete cosmic show. The Lord gives the fallen souls the chance for this highest perfection of life. And therefore, he, Brahma, prays that the Lord bestow his blessings upon him so that he may execute his purpose. The Lord, who is supreme and is the oldest of all, is unlimitedly merciful. I wish that he may smilingly bestow his benediction upon me by opening his lotus eyes. He can uplift the entire cosmic creation and remove our dejection by kindly speaking his directions. Hare Krishna. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol.